Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be quickly showing off the process of doing a headlight or something of that sort in SolidWorks. So I'm going to be using this M4A3E8 Sherman as a sort of example piece. This is just a mock-up of the hull that is obviously very wrong, but it should do the job for what I'm trying to show. So what you're going to want to do, we're going to make this little light right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to start out by going to the front plane to locate the light. And I'm just going to go here and I'm going to draw a line in the middle of the light that kind of represents its location, hence locating. And actually that light is facing downward, so it's a little annoying. So I'm going to do this light instead. This one's, I guess, is kind of the low vis light or something. Looks like it's aiming down to look at the ground. Anyways, so this line is in the middle of the light, and then I'm going to go to reference plane. And I'm going to connect it to that line and then the front glasses to get it perpendicular to the glasses. And then what I can do is I can draw on this plane, which is now at the center of the light. I can go to this place, which is where the light is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a pair of constraining curves. I'm going to move my recording software. And these curves, or they're not really curves, these lines, I'm just going to use to represent the ends of the light so that I can get the width right. So if we go here, we can see that we have, it extends from there down to around there. And that should correspond to the side view, which it does pretty well. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a midline. This is like my axis of revolution. I'm going to move this out just so it's not in the way. And then we can draw out the shape of the light. So I'm going to do something really simple, really basic. Allegedly, if I didn't mess that up right there. Just to get a shape of the light. So this is not going to be perfectly correct for what I'm trying to do, or for the vehicle, but it's just kind of an example. So this is like just a profile for the light. And then just to make it slightly more correct, I'll do this and just kind of position it so that it looks like it's kind of following this example from the schematic. I'm going to exit that. I'm going to go revolve around that mid-axis. And that's going to give me the like light itself with its little shroud. And then this one, the Sherman, you can see it has the second light thing above the first one. So I'm going to do the same process there, and I'm going to pause because it's the same process, and I'll come back once I have that done. All right, so I have that second little sublight thing made on top of the first one. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create the kind of geometry that constrains it to the vehicle. So I'm going to do that with just a rectangle that goes through, and the rectangle is going to be like half the width that you want it to be because we're going to revolve it, if that makes sense. So if it was like this wide, it would revolve and be twice that thick. I just use my hands to show that on my screen, which is useless. But if I do it like half the diameter, so the radius, and then when I revolve it, it'll have the proper diameter. So like that. I'm going to go to feature scope, and I'm going to make sure it only applies to the light. And the reason I do that is so that, say I need a second light, I can go and mirror it. So I'll just create a arbitrary mirror plane. This isn't accurate by any stretch, but I'm going to go mirror, and then I can mirror the body and mirror the entire light at one go. So that's kind of the basic lights. And you can see that it's got kind of a cage around it. So those cages, there's really like a lot of variety in how those look. I'm going to get rid of this mirror for now. And that plane. There's a lot of variety in how those cages look. I'm going to do the Sherman's cage just as an example. So what you're going to do, or what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go to the right view, and I'm going to trace kind of the front profile of what that cage looks like, going over. So by over, I mean like instead of ending right here, I'm ending up here. That way when I do a projection, I don't have it cut off prematurely. Then I'm just going to kind of get it in the right position for to represent this piece. And you can tell, like, you know, that isn't too useful right now because I can't draw a sketch on it. I can extrude it, but then it's just going to be a brick. But what I can do is I can go to the front view. I can use this mid plane that I did for the light as kind of a guide. And then I can create, I'm going to start with half. So I just create the kind of shape of this guard like that. Again, extend it below. Then right here, I'm just going to make sure that's coincident. And this is coincident. And then since there's two, well, actually, I don't need to do that quite yet. So now I've got this half of this front view of the guard. I can go to curves, project curve, sketch on sketch, and then I can select that new sketch and the one I did just before it, and you'll see it will draw this in 3D space for what I'm trying to do. And then what I can do is I can go click on the hull, and I can draw my kind of shape of the cage. So something like this. And then if I go to sweep, and I use this as the guide curve, there we go. It's got that kind of half the cage. I'm going to make sure that I do not merge this one. So I go to merge and turn that off. And then what I can do is I can click, because we see it has the crossbar going horizontally to the hull. So I'm going to create that. So I just click on one of the horizontal or the vertical faces. So like this one right here. And then I can create this little horizontal bar. And I'm going to make sure that only attaches to this part of the guard. And then what I can do is I can mirror around the midplane, and I'm going to mirror the entire guard. And that's not quite right because it has some weird twist here, which we don't want. So instead of using that face as the mirror, I'm going to use the mid face as of the headlight. And you can see that that creates this weird kind of intersect there. So what I'm going to do, this is a little unplanned, but it's not hard to fix, and it's probably good to show any potential issues. So I could have not had this issue if I did the sweep as one function, or if I did the sweep over the entire guard rather than just half of it. That would have avoided this issue. But since I have this issue and I'm not going to go back, what I can do is I can just create a little like cut, and this cut doesn't need to be wide by any stretch. It just needs to you just need to make sure it breaks through the intersection. And and this is also a good reason to keep things as separate bodies, because now I can just extrude cut this all the way through, and I can make sure it only applies to these guard pieces. And then I have this kind of intermediate piece. I can just go convert and then extrude that up to the other one's surface, and then apply it to both sides of the guard. And there you go, the guard's one piece, and it meets properly at the top there. There's other ways to do it, as I said, like when I was doing this project for this this sketch, I could have had it mirrored already, and that would have prevented this issue. And now what I can do is I have the light with the guard, and I can create another, like my midplane again, and then I can go to Tools, Features, or Insert Features, sorry. Well, I don't need to do that, it's in the main bar. Mirror. I was going to move it, but that doesn't need to happen. And I just select those two pieces, and then I can place them. So I have the two headlights that are, this one's obviously kind of way off, but just an example. Then I can take all these pieces with a shift click, combine them, and now I've got the hull with the headlights built into it. So that's the process for doing that. And it's kind of another modeling challenge, just like making those cages and the details of the headlight, but this is my workflow for doing something like a headlight. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful.